Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garden Sports. I'm your host, Zach Gardner, alongside my brother, Jake Gardner.
Hey everyone.
And today we have a hockey episode for you. So we're going to be breaking down all of the Week 2 action, as well as looking forward to some key matchups for Week 3. We go over top performers of the week, key injury news, top waiver ads, or, if you've been listening for a little while, our Scoop 'em Up segment. And then we're going to go over some guys to keep on your watch list, some top streaming options, and the best and worst schedules for Week 3 to help you prepare for some streaming goalies. So with that, we are glad you entered the garden today. So are you ready, Jake?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I sure am, man. Let's do this crap.
Heck yeah. Do you want me to hit center or?
Yeah, so we'll start off with top performers. We're going to do centers.
Yeah, screwed up that lead in there, but Connor McDavid, 26.5 fantasy points. So that's really no surprise. I mean,
Yeah.
Elias Lindholm, 25 fantasy points. Logan Courtier, 24.7 fantasy points. Oh god, dude, what is this guy's name?
Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Kenny Kuznetsov, 22.25 fantasy points. Ryan Nugent Hopkins, 19.5 fantasy points. So
Yeah.
Kuznetsov's a surprise, right? Or no?
Yeah, a little bit. He hasn't made a list like this in a little while. He definitely had a good week. He's been disappointing the last couple seasons. So it's nice to see him do something.
For sure.
So then we'll go into left wing. We got Kyle Connor, number 1 with 29 fantasy points. Leon Draisaitl, another guy, not a surprise, 23.35 fantasy points. And then we have kind of the first surprise, Lucas Raymond, rookie on the Red Wings, 23 fantasy points. And we'll be mentioning his name later, so be listening for that. Zach Heinen, 21 fantasy points. He's starting to go off. He was a little sleeper that I had for this year. And then Jordan Kyrou, 18.5 fantasy points.
Yeah, hopefully he can keep it up.
Yeah, sounds like you maybe own him or something.
Yeah, grabbed him right wing. Timo Meyer, 27.2 fantasy points. David Perron, 22.25 fantasy points. Zach Kassian, 21.5 fantasy points. Cal Clutter Buck, 20.7. What are these names? It's like you're messing with me and it's like, see if I actually know any hockey. Troy Terry Ducks, 18.5 fantasy points.
Well, it's Troy Terry. I just didn't know if everybody would know him, so I put the team, the Ducks. He plays on the Ducks.
Okay. I was like, what is this name?
Troy Terry. 18.5 fantasy points. Sorry if this is scuffed so far, but we're hanging in there, everybody.
You had to put parentheses on those notes, my guy.
Yeah, you know what? I should have.
You know what? Next time.
next week.
Week 3 recap.
And that honestly might help you pronounce the names better, too.
Probably not. I mean,
I'm just messing with you, dude. Okay,
kind of like I know the basketball names and you know the hockey names.
All right, so moving on to defense. We have Roman Josi coming in number 1, 27.5 fantasy points. He's went off this week. Eric Carlson having like a resurgent year. As he's looking so far.
Renaissance.
Looking like he did like 4 years ago so far this season. 24.5 fantasy points. Neil Pionk, 22.25 fantasy points.
That's right. That's my guy.
Nate Schmidt, 22.25 fantasy points, so him and Pionk tied for third. Kevin Shattenkirk, 20.25 fantasy points. Some guy who doesn't know hockey picked him up this week. Miro Heiskanen, 18.5 fantasy points.
Oh, yeah. Don't I have both of them?
Do you have Heiskanen?
Yeah. I'm looking at free agents here. Just
I know Heiskanen's owned, that's for sure.
No, I mixed him up with another guy I have, I think.
Okay.
But
And then we'll round out top performers with our goalies. I'll let you take this one, Jake, because I'm sure you want to gloat a little bit.
yeah, Elias Sorokin, she's 42. Is this correct?
Yeah, correct, because he started yesterday and had 15.
42 fantasy points. Okay. Yeah, I did grab this guy because I lost, the predictable injury in Mike Smith. But, yeah, Jordan Binnington, 22 fantasy points. Mikko, oh
Koskinen.
God, Koskinen. Okay, it's just like it sounds. 21.75 fantasy points. Thatcher Demko, 20. Okay, so he's finally coming to what everybody said he would, right?
Yeah.
Igor Shesterkin, 19 fantasy points. Connor Hellebuck, 18.5 fantasy points. Braden Holtby, 18.5 fantasy points.
All right, so those
Oh.
are our top performers. And yeah, so, those guys went off.
Yeah.
Now we'll now we'll move on to the injury news and just buckle up. There's a ton this week, so
Yeah.
yeah. So last week our episode we got done recording and we put the episode up on YouTube and everything, and then literally right after we did all that, the bomb drops that Nikita Kucherov goes on the long-term IR. So we weren't able to mention him last week, so that's why I'm bringing him up this week. I know this isn't new news, but we have to mention him because he didn't make it really last week when we were still wondering what was going on with him at our episode last week. So long-term IR, so hopefully you made some shrewd moves to try and, help position yourself to be in a good position when he comes back. Patrick Kane, he was out yesterday in the COVID protocol. Just got to keep monitoring that if you own him. Hopefully you're in a league where he was marked as out so that you could move him to an IR spot. I know not every league it's as easy to do as it is in some other leagues, so hopefully you were able to do something like that. Chris Letang out Sunday in the COVID protocol. And then kind of a weird one. This is when you start being like, that's just hockey shit. Alec Martinez, he's day-to-day, undisclosed. They've released no news. All they know is that he's not practicing and not playing right now. And no one knows what's...
mental
no one
health
knows.
thing.
And then Drew Doughty out with a relatively minor knee sprain. And you know what? I'm honestly, good on the LA Kings for actually releasing what the injury is. That this might be the first time I've ever seen a hockey injury actually come up as a knee sprain or something. Like, you never actually know what it is. So good on LA for doing that. And then Mark Scheifele out, and he's in the COVID protocol. Mark Stone was just put on IR this week, and this is another hockey thing. This is how he's listed. He's listed between day to day and week to week. So, that makes it easy for you. Makes it easy for you.
It's like a Cincinnati Bengals injury report. Jesus.
He's somewhere between coming back tomorrow or coming back in 8 weeks. So if that answers your question.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to hold him now. For sure.
Blake Wheeler. Well, luckily in our league, in my league that I manage, I have 4 IR spots, so makes it a little better for something like that. But yeah, Blake Wheeler positive for COVID-19 and has symptoms. And he plays in Canada, so he's probably going to be out till June.
Yeah.
Nicholas Backstrom, he's on long-term IR. They moved him from the regular IR to the long-term IR, I think for some cap flexibility is why they did that with a hip injury. And it didn't really change his projected return time, and he'll go right back onto that first-line center with Alex Ovechkin. So just keep monitoring him. Maybe you can pick him up as he's coming back in sometime in November. And then Tyler Bertuzzi, out because he's unvaccinated, and that means that he can't play games in Canada apparently. So
yeah, they're
that
pretty
seems
strict
fun
with their stuff. So
seems like a fun situation to monitor.
we'll probably run into a lot of that, right? There's a lot of Canadian players.
Well, not only Canadian player, I think they're all like forced to get the vaccine almost if they want to even play on the team. The
Yeah, well,
Canadian
yeah,
guys. This is when like the American guys go to Canada. You'll be seeing more of this.
Okay, weird. All right, continue.
Yeah, and then Samuel Gerard, day to day, he was injured on a hit late Saturday by Steven Stamkos. So I don't know if any new news came out on that. Just keep monitoring that situation. Maybe he's been moved to out by now because I was typing this up yesterday. So maybe there's some new news that came out.
Okay.
If you wanna go while I'm reading these next guys and
Samuel?
sniff that one out for me, Jake. Samuel Gerard.
Yeah.
All right, and then Jason Robertson still out and no news. So what the heck's going on with him? I don't know. Could be a mental thing, could be COVID thing, could be something injury, could be mental. Who freaking knows? No news though. Absolutely nothing
Gerard
at all.
is still day-to-day undisclosed.
Okay, so that's another one undisclosed. I gotta love that.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Strome out in the COVID protocol, and then John Klingberg out, but he's expected to return soon with a lower body injury. So that's usually about as much as you get from hockey, lower body injury. So usually that means like knee related, but we never really know what he's got.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Hughes, this one kind of hurts. Dislocated shoulder, but doesn't need surgery. He's listed as week to week.
Damn.
So luckily he doesn't need surgery. That might be a season-ending injury if he did, but since he doesn't, it might be like 4 or 5 weeks type of thing.
Doing the Taves recovery,
Right.
Just pop it back in, see how long it lasts this time.
Shoot him up with some stuff. Some of the magic juice.
And he'll re-injure it when he comes back. So it's a lot to look forward to for you, for sure.
Oh yeah, great. I mean that stinks because he was off to a breakout for sure.
Dang.
Alex Tuck, he's on long-term IR with a shoulder, week to week. He's considered. So when he gets back, that'll be great for Vegas because they're in dire need of forwards right now. And then lastly, rounding out our injury news, Jeff Carter out in COVID protocol. So just keep monitoring that situation if you own him.
Yeah, I got him.
Yeah, so that's the injury news. Anything to add, Jake?
No, yeah, I mean, I'm already using all 4 of my spots, so.
Oh, geez, really?
It's to be expected with the guys that get COVID, and
yeah,
you can still get it if you're vaxxed, so
right. So
it's a good time,
Yeah, awesome sauce. All right, so now we'll go on to scoop 'em up.
Scoop 'em up.
So first, I have Nate Schmidt, D on the Jets. He's just going off this week. He's at the very least worth an ad for while he's on this hot streak that he's on. And, he could be an easy drop later, but I mean, he should, why not get those points he's getting right now?
Yeah, I saw you already grabbed him. I see, in a league with Zach, he makes most of the moves before the podcast, so.
Hey, you know what?
No, just kidding. But yeah, I mean, he's always been a guy that you could stream.
Yeah.
I feel like.
So I feel like he's worth a pickup just because he's, on a hot streak right now and he's getting top power play. So just ride that train, milk that for all it's worth.
Sure.
And then we have Evan Rodriguez, center on the Penguins. He's getting first power play right now. Just get him for that hot streak because Sidney Crosby's going to be back soon. And then Evan Rodriguez will never make this list again in his life once that happens. So.
Yeah, it's kind of why I didn't grab him because I always look for guys who I can have for a couple weeks, hopefully.
Yeah, but sometimes having a guy for 1 week, if he'll score 20 points,
Yeah, for sure.
If you have a guy worth dropping, like if you have a guy that you just want to get rid of and that you don't, it's a spot that a guy that you're not gonna miss to pick him up for only a week. You don't want to drop like a middle level player for a guy like that, but depends on how deep you are.
Definitely.
And then Ryan Getzlaf, center on the Anaheim Ducks, just going off this week. At the very least, get him for a hot streak, and he could be a hold if he has like a renaissance year.
Okay.
Um, and I think now I had this guy on.
His last name isn't Ducks.
I had this next guy on the watch list section last week, and I think now it's worth picking him up. Jonathan Drouin, left wing on the Canadiens, he's starting to heat up, and he's still getting that top line, top power play, and he's starting to score some goals now. And that was always the case with him. It's like once he starts actually like scoring goals, he's going to be like a top level fantasy player almost, because he's always been able to get assists, but everybody's always like they just want him to shoot the puck more. He hardly ever shoots the puck. He's always looking to pass, and that's great. But if he could just get that shooting percentage up a little bit, he would be like a star hockey player.
Dang. Yeah, plus he needs more minutes to be a star, right? I mean,
well, that's why he's worth picking up too, because he's getting those power play time. If he wasn't on a power play, I would say he's not worth owning.
Okay.
But he's on that top power play, and they have some talented players. Just Montreal's starting out super slow this season, but they're going to score some goals. So why not get the guy that's on the first line, first power play while you can?
Yeah, definitely agree. I'll be looking at him after the show here.
If you keep looking at him, you might just be looking at him, and he'll be on my team by then.
Well, you didn't do it yet, so.
I digress. So moving on, Colin Miller, defense on Buffalo. He's on the second power play right now. He's more worth a look if you're in points leagues, because he doesn't really get you much peripheral stats. And since he's on a power play, getting some points, he's worth a speculative, maybe week long or more ad. You could have a quick hook on him, but he's scoring some points right now.
Okay.
And he's a low owned guy, so he's most likely available in your league. Then moving on, Danton Heinen, right wing on the Penguins. He's on the second power play right now. Get him while on a hot streak before guys come back. He's just like a streaming option.
Yeah, averaging 4 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's having a strong start to the year. He does a little bit of everything. He hits, he blocks. So he can get you some peripheral stats.
Just low minutes, but hopefully that could change.
Well, yeah, it's because he's on the third line, but he gets some power play time, which is why I have him on here. At least for right now, he does. And then Kevin Leblanc, kind of very similar to Danton Heinen, right wing on the Sharks. He's on the second power play, so just get him while he's on this hot streak.
Okay.
And then this is kind of like the big one that could be a really, really good move this early in the year. Getting this guy, Lucas Raymond, right wing on the Red Wings. He's a rookie. He's on the top line, top power play. Pick him up, and he could be a season-long hold and a Calder Trophy finalist at the end of the season.
Okay. I don't even see him on our. Did you already grab him?
Oh, Lucas Raymond? No.
Okay, so he's not is he not going off? He's just like, you're just kind of like, this is a long move?
No, he is going off. He had a hat trick last night.
Oh, maybe somebody else? I'm looking.
No, I picked him up.
Oh, you savage. Okay, well, I have a couple guys.
Well, I just have one more guy. Ilya Sorokin, goalie on the Islanders, started popping off. I'm sure most people noticed, and I'm sure that he has been getting picked up, but I had to mention him because I had him on the watch list section last week, and now he's definitely worth to go scoop up because he is just going off.
Okay. Yeah, I grabbed him, and he helped me win my second week because I'm one of the guys who lost Kucherov, so I maxed out my moves after that because I knew that how my season's going to go is that I have to stream guys in my bottom that are hot to pull out my wins now. I mean, yeah, I could still pull out wins. I have other stars, but when you lose like one of your main keepers, in a very competitive league, I mean, you got to stream to just make the playoffs. Like now, my focus, like I probably won't finish a top seed, but I need to make the playoffs.
Which you can definitely do. Definitely, you can definitely do. I mean, you
Hmm.
still have a good team. You know, you're
Yeah.
just missing that one more, well, that one extra superstar that you had, but you can still get
Hmm.
by.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I'm just saying for like the viewers, like
yeah. So why don't you
even when
tell
you lose
them?
a top guy, you can
Why don't
still
you
win.
mention some of the moves you made? I think that might be a little helpful. Maybe they can try and make some
Okay.
similar
I'll
things.
come back to this then. I have four other scoop 'em ups to go over
Okay.
that I just wanted to get your opinion on because they're low percent owned, but we like our hits and defensive stats. So a couple of
Yeah,
them are
because
defensemen, but
our
then there's
league,
also a forward.
our league, Jake, would be considered a banger league because we do hits and blocks points.
But
They're
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 low.
low, but
Yeah.
we would still be considered like a banger league. So
Okay.
a banger
So
defense league.
yeah, I made 5 moves last week, so I maxed out. I grabbed Ilya Sorokin after just like his first 2 games, I guess. So it was kind of a risk when I did it, but I grabbed him just for like a spot start and then kept him. And then I grabbed because I lost Kucherov, and then Jeff Carter also went to IR for COVID. So I think that was one of my moves, but then I had to move Jeff Carter. Then I
Yeah,
also grabbed 3 more defensemen. I grabbed Moritz Cedar,
cider. Yeah,
because I saw that he's just getting heavy minutes. I know it's Detroit, but he's a
they're
defenseman.
actually they're a sleeper team so far this season, dude.
I was
A
gonna
lot,
say I've been
they're
seeing a
better than
lot
a lot
of
of people think, for sure.
yeah. So he's averaging 4 fantasy points. So right now I'm just gonna keep going with him. I'm gonna ride him.
I mean, he's
Um,
their number one defenseman. There nothing wrong with getting a number one defenseman off of any team off of waivers. That's
yeah,
never a terrible move.
this isn't maybe the best strategy, but I always kind of have it in my head like I want a guy who's getting 20 minutes.
Well,
I
that is a
mean,
pretty good strategy. That's a strategy
that's not,
a lot of people have.
but that didn't affect this move because I grabbed Jordan Kyrou, and he's only getting like 14 minutes. So
Only getting 14 minutes, but I've never seen a guy do more than him with less minutes.
yeah, so I'm really hoping he gets more, and because he's averaging 5.8 fantasy points. Obviously, he
Yeah,
won't stay that high. That's just unsustainable. But
yeah, he
I'm hoping
definitely
he could be a long-term guy just because of the loss of Kucherov.
he has a very unsustainable shooting percentage, but while he's on that hot streak, you love to see that.
Yeah. So one of these moves must have been
And then you
Sunday
picked up
before the games because
and then
I
you
also grabbed Cam Fowler
and Shattenkirk.
and Shattenkirk, 2 Anaheim defensemen, because I also grabbed more defensemen because even though I lost 2 forwards, I didn't have defensemen on my bench. I didn't draft defensemen well because it just kind of they all went in our draft. If you guys heard us talk about that, so I grabbed both these Anaheim guys are getting 20 plus minutes and doing pretty dang good. So
Yeah, they're
I feel
on
like
power play.
one of them could keep it up, right? At least one of them.
Yeah, I mean, both of them they could both have Renaissance years. They're both older, but they both have been top of the league defensemen in their past.
Yeah. So those are the moves I made. I think one of them was actually from the end of the previous week going into this week because I said 6. But
Yeah.
anyway, so these are the guys.
You picked up Cider last week,
Okay,
so that
that must have been it.
he was one of the moves you did last week.
Gotcha. Let me Gosh, now I had like a custom search in my players list, and I had all these guys lined up. But hold on. It was total points, not ads. So Cal Clutter Buck, the Islanders forward,
Yeah.
26.75 on the week or on the year, 4.5 average. Would you grab him, even though he's only 2.1% owned?
So
Not that that matters.
he might be worth a streaming option, but I didn't put him on the list just because I know that Cal Clutterbuck he's ancient. He's been around forever. I just don't
Yeah,
really
he
trust that he's going
looks
to keep it up.
old. He's got low minutes. Okay. And then Evan Rodriguez,
I did
Pittsburgh
put him
Penguins.
on. I did put him on. We talked about him already.
Oh gosh, I didn't see him at the top. Um. Okay, and then this guy you talked about before, Goudas.
Yeah, Radco Goudas. I actually have him on my streamer list, but we can talk about him now.
Yeah, I just feel like he is a must grab. 18 minutes a night, and that could
And
increase and get
he's
the hits.
only he's only a grab in a banger league,
Hmm.
and we are in a banger league, and he'll get you 3 points just on hits, and then if he gets actually scores anything, he's just overkill. So
Okay.
he is definitely worth an ad. I don't really know because I have a lot of good scoring defensemen,
Hmm.
and I don't really have a spot for him on my team right now. That's why I think it'd be a great move for you, but he's still sitting out there, and he should be owned in our league for sure.
Hmm.
I mean,
Um.
that's a very in a banger league. That's a very high floor guy to have.
Hmm. And then the forward I wanted to go over, so this might be more for everybody. JT Comfer. I thought about grabbing him
I keep seeing him on our list,
last
and
week.
I'm just so afraid to say about picking him up because he's been in the league a while. It's not like he's some young
I feel like
guy,
he's been a name for a while, but is this? I mean, he's
but
on a
I
really good
think
team.
he's on a
He's
great
get,
team, and he's getting the minutes that they
yeah,
lost when Donskoy went to Seattle.
he's getting
So
20 minutes, dude. I
yeah,
mean,
he's taken that
on a
second
really
line
good
spot.
team.
He might be definitely worth a pickup. I just am afraid to mention him because I know how hot and cold he is.
Okay.
But
Uh, yeah, that's kind of like why I picked Kairu over him. I think it came down to those two.
yeah,
But yeah, just some other guys I'm looking at. There's still like even in a 12 team league, there's still guys to grab, so it's always important. Anyway,
yeah.
so I took
So
your thunder on Goudas and the streamers, but
do you want to just add a section here talking about maybe some guys to start monitoring to maybe fade? You want to give me your questions about some guys that you had that are kind of starting off slow?
um, so I only yeah, I mean, I was gonna just talk about guys on my team. I didn't look at other star players that might not be
Well,
doing
I'm
well.
going to take a look at my team too, and we can do the same thing.
Okay, so we'll just go over a couple, but let's
Let's just
just
go over a few. It doesn't have to be a long thing. Just talk about some guys.
yeah, streamers though.
Yeah.
Goudas.
Yeah, definitely. If you're in a banger league, definitely pick up Goudas. He should be owned for sure. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Would you pick him up over Adam Larson?
I would just because I know he gets like he finished last year as with the most hits in the whole NHL.
Yeah,
Goudas
because
did.
I'm liking Larson this year, but he's got less of an average, so it's like.
Larson's good too. Same type of guy.
But
He's just
Larson's
not.
getting. So I grabbed him because he's the Seattle Kraken main defense or one of them. 20 minutes, 21 minutes a night.
He gets
So it's just
minutes and he does hit and
it's
block. I mean,
hard for me to drop him.
he does
But
hit and block.
technically, he's my lowest average defenseman at 3.
I mean, he does the same things Goudas does. He just doesn't. He just doesn't hit as much as Goudas does because Goudas is a freaking freak.
Okay,
Goudas is a brick shit house.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
Larson is among that same ilk, but he's not as big a bruiser as Goudas is. He doesn't, he'll hit and block and stuff, but he does not throw his weight around like Goudas does. I mean, if you ever watch the games, you always know when Radco Goudas is on the ice.
okay.
Every shift he makes his presence felt in some way.
Yeah, I don't
So
know if I've ever watched him play,
yeah.
but
I mean, I don't know how much hockey you watch in general, but
I would only watch the Hawks, honestly.
yeah, he's always been a frustrating player when the Hawks would play whatever team he's on. He's just
Yeah,
a very
no, we're just
frustrating
kind of
guy.
the opposite to everybody who's listening. I will keep up with all the basketball games and teams, and then Zach will keep up with all the hockey games and teams. Then we watch our hometown team on the opposite, and we still both play fantasy. We know the names on each sport. It's just actually watching. Outside
Yeah,
of fantasy, it's a little different for us.
I've
But
watched more basketball so far this season than I have in a while, though, because the Bulls look like they got a good team.
bro, I don't even. Let's not even get into it because then I'll just
Yeah,
start
but
talking about the Bulls. But
so yeah, I'm looking. All the guys that I was questionable about on my team, I've kind of already dropped. So I don't really have anybody that that hasn't done something right now.
Oh, do you want to finish the streamers?
We didn't even start the streamers.
Yeah, we did Goudas.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we did Radco Goudas.
Keegan
So then
Coleslaw?
Keegan Kolesar, he's a right wing on Vegas, similar to Goudas,
Coleslaw?
except he's a forward. He gets tons of hits. He can get those extra few points needed to win in some tight matchups, and he might be, Radco Goudas. I put him on the streamer section, but he might be more of a scoop him up guy. Keegan Kolesar, he's a little more of a streaming option, very low owned. He can definitely get you those extra points in a close matchup if you just pick him up on like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If they're playing like 2 games or something over the weekend, pick him up. He'll get you some hits.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I have a few goalies for some streaming. Just watch the schedules. But James Reimer, backup goalie on San Jose, he's getting a start or 2 a week, and he's doing pretty well. Just watch when he starts and look at the matchup, and maybe you could pick him up. And then same thing with Martin Jones, backup goalie on the Flyers. He's getting about 1 start a week. And so just watch the matchups, watch when he's going to start, and he could be a good streaming option. And then Alexander Georgiev, goalie on the Rangers, not getting a ton of starts at all because Shesterkin's just a workhorse. But he's, decent when he does. He'll get you maybe 3, 4, 5 points. So just watch those back-to-backs for New York because those are the only times he starts. And then Anthony Stolarz, goalie on the Ducks, similar to Georgiev because John Gibson is such a workhorse for Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
Stolarz really only plays on back-to-backs, and so you can just pick him up on those back-to-back matchups, whichever one he's going to start, and he's a good streamer.
Okay.
Anybody you think is a good
sure.
streamer?
Just going off our league, I don't want to repeat anybody. Kevin Leblanc.
Yeah, so I have him as more of a
watch list.
Yeah, I have him as more of a. No, I have him on Scoop Him Up. Pick him up while he's on the hot streak. So
my bad. Then yeah, see, we're just in a deep league, so I'm trying to find.
Yeah,
I think we've hit everybody then that would
pretty much hit all the main guys, and because we're in a deep league, so these are kind of all depth moves here anyway.
For sure,
because we're in a very competitive 12-team league. Everybody makes moves pretty much, so it's kind of hard to get guys. So that's why a lot of these guys are pretty low owned.
There's still a lot of good moves though, like we've hit. But
so I just have 3 guys that you can keep on your watch list. Cole Caulfield, right wing on the Canadiens. He was dropped to the 3rd line this week, and I'm just going to check. He might not even be on a power play anymore. That would be insane, but I just got to check that. So one of the things I use for this stuff that can help you guys, dailyfaceoff.com. They have up to the minute line combinations, and these are all accurate as hell. This is a great tool to see what line your guys are always on and keep track of your players, know when they get dropped down. Very helpful. Okay.
For sure.
Cole Caulfield, he was on the 1st power play. Now he's on the 2nd power play, and he's playing one of the blue line spots. I don't know if I like that. He's more of a scorer. You'd want him well, I digress. But yeah, he was dropped to the 3rd line. He's on the 2nd power play, so he's still on a power play, but I made the decision to cut bait with him. He hasn't really done anything so far, and I was just getting too frustrated. So I'm just putting him on my watch list to see when he starts doing something. But yeah, I dropped him and picked up Lucas Raymond. So I feel pretty good about it, getting a rookie that's actually going off right now. I don't feel terrible about that move. I didn't want to drop Caulfield for someone that I thought was going to be just a flash in the pan, because there's obviously a chance I don't get Caulfield back. So I wanted to make sure it would be a good move, and I feel pretty good about Lucas Raymond. So that kind of made the decision a little bit easier for me. So you just got to make those tough calls sometimes because there is something to holding on to a guy through his struggles and benefiting from it later, but if you lose like 3 matchups in a row and you're holding on to a guy that's doing nothing, that's not always a great choice. So you got to make those tough calls. And then Brett Pesce, defense on Carolina. Just keep waiting to see if he ever gets that top power play. Tony DeAngelo is doing a pretty good job right now, but I know they're going to have a quick hook because Pesce a while and they are still high on him as a young defenseman. So I just know that if Tony DeAngelo gets hurt or struggles or whatever, they're going to get Pesce up there. So just keep him on your watch list. I mentioned him last week. I'm going to keep mentioning him until he gets up to that power play time. And then Niles Hoglander, right wing on the Canucks. Besser is back now, so Hoglander has been dropped down to the third line. So just keep watching to see if he ever gets better deployment. And those are kind of my 3 watch list guys for this week.
All right, for sure. Yeah, then we definitely hit everybody.
So is there anybody that you have that's been starting slow that you want me to see?
I want your take on Sean Monahan, Jonathan Taves, and Jonathan Marchessault.
Okay. So
they're all averaging like 1 or less.
Yeah.
But obviously 2 weeks in, you don't just drop big names yet.
Right. So let me look at your Jonathan Marchessault. Yeah, he's not doing much so far, only averaging 1.8. But man, I just know that he can put up points in bunches. And
He's
he's a hold
not
for
drop.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
he's first line. He's first line, first power play. So I mean, you can't drop that for sure. You guys just got to keep holding, and he'll start getting some points at some point.
Yeah, I'm a little more worried about the other 2, I guess. It was surprising.
So Sean Monahan, I was actually pretty dang high on this guy going into this season. Looks like he has done absolutely nothing so far. And there's other Calgary guys going off.
Yeah, so what does that mean?
I would still be holding him, but I'm gonna check the line combos right now for Calgary. Because I was very high on Calgary as a team coming back. Oh boy, what is Calgary doing? What the heck is Calgary? Calgary's gonna pull a Calgary. Okay. I'm trying to make this make sense. He's on the 4th line center.
Wow.
That's not something you like to see. But then he's on the first power play. So they're giving him first power play. That is wild. What the heck?
Is he in the doghouse?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if, Daryl Sutter having too many gin and tonics in the morning. I don't know what's going on with that. That is.
It's becoming harder for me to hold.
He's getting first power play though. When I saw 4th line, I was like, ooh. But then first power play. I mean, and he's on the power play with Elias Lindholm, Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau, who are all going off themselves. You'd think that he would start benefiting from that eventually. So Jake, I would keep looking at daily faceoff and see if they ever take him off that first power play. Then that might make the decision for you. So just keep watching daily faceoff. They're really accurate. They're the best website for line combinations.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I normally have a short leash in fantasy. Like you can't get attached.
I mean, first power play with
I don't know.
I'm
going to give him like 1 more week. I've seen this happen in every sport where they're more of a name, but it's just a bad year.
He might be the one of the 3 that I'm the lowest on, but he's still getting top power play.
And but just like every fantasy sport, if they start off pretty bad through 3 weeks, it's usually they won't figure it out again until the second half.
Right.
and you don't want to deal with that in fantasy. I don't know.
So Jonathan Taves,
close.
he finally did something yesterday. And you don't have to worry about him whenever Jonathan Taves is playing, even when he's struggling. He's always locked in, and you can always 100% count on it. First line, first power play. That's not ever a question. So he's getting the minutes.
Yeah.
And he finally did something yesterday. He got 2 assists, so he's starting to score. I think he just needed, I always said that he would probably need a couple weeks to get his legs under him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still pretty high on Jonathan Taves. I still feel like at the end of the season he'll be averaging over 3 points. So
yeah, I would hope more than that, but
I would be watching Monahan to see if he ever loses top power play, because then that basically takes away all his value.
Okay.
And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he pissed off the coach somehow, or if he does not a hard worker or something, and they're sending him a message, but he should easily be second line. He should easily be second line center. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
So sure. Yeah, just keep watching that, Jake. But those are actually some pretty good questions.
For sure.
So we're gonna wrap this up. I hope we've helped you guys make some choices this week. Just gonna look ahead to week 3. I'm gonna give you guys the best and worst schedules for next week, so to maybe help you make some streaming choices.
Mm-hmm.
So best schedules, we have Carolina with 4 games. They have one of the easiest schedules, and they do have a back-to-back, so you can pick up maybe the backup goalie for one of those games. And then the Anaheim Ducks, another 4-game week. They've had the best schedule so far to start the season. Another easy schedule. They have a back-to-back, so Stolars can get a start this week. And then Calgary Flames, they have 4 games, a decent schedule, and then they have one back-to-back, and then they have an off-night game. So those are kind of nice when there's an off-night game, like not a busy night. And then Florida, 4 games, decent schedule. They have one back-to-back. So looks like Spencer Knight is going to get a start this week. And then the LA Kings, 4 games, easy schedule, one back-to-back. And then Montreal, they have 4 games, and they have the easiest schedule by far. And then they have a back-to-back. And their goalies have been struggling so far this season, but I'm just looking at this as maybe a bounce back week for Montreal as a whole, having an easy schedule. This week is going to give you a lot of information on how Montreal might be this season, because they're playing teams that they should go 4-0 this week. And if they don't, that would be a little more concerning then. So those are the best schedules: Carolina, Anaheim, Calgary, Florida, LA, Montreal, 4 games each. And then worst schedules, definitely the worst schedule this week, New York Islanders. They only play 1 game. So, yeah, that's always fun.
So it sucks for that goalie pickup, but you still got to do it.
Well, he's the starter, though. So,
yeah.
And then Edmonton, 2 games. And then Nashville, 2 games. And Ottawa, 2 games. And then Boston, they have 3 games, but they have by far the hardest strength of schedule this week. They're playing some really good teams. And so Boston has the toughest schedule for sure this week. So those are the best and worst schedules. And with that, that will be the episode. We hope we helped you guys out. Thank you so much for listening. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We'll catch you next week on the Garden Sports.